Sir Rimuru has already won. Then I should finish my battle quickly and return to his side. Gardner believed he had killed my shadow. That mistake would last only a moment.
AI Anime and Manga presents. Before Soei shows why a shadow can be more than a decoy, please like, comment, and subscribe. YouTube members get early access to new episodes and help keep the narration, subtitles, art, and renders moving. Now, back to Soei, where loyalty is about to meet an enemy who thinks the fight is already over. Soei was in high spirits. From the shadows, he had watched Rimuru's battle reach its conclusion, and Rimuru had won in crushing fashion. That alone was enough to lift Soei's mood. Rimuru had faced Veldora and Velgrind at the same time, taken Veldora back into himself, evolved in the middle of the fight, and still overpowered Velgrind by the end. The attacks flying through that battlefield were the kind Soei could never have endured head-on, and yet the full scale of Rimuru's new power was still hidden from him. Even through the soul corridor connecting them, Soei could not sense the bottom of it. He was sure he was not the only one wondering what his master had become. Diablo naturally had remained beside Rimuru until the end. Soei wanted to curse him for hoarding the best seat in the house, but Diablo had his reasons, and Soei understood them too well to object. Testarossa had also chosen to stay behind. Velgrind might have realized her disadvantage and moved to protect Ludora, but there was no guarantee she would remain quietly inside her gate until the other 7 were destroyed. So I knew what Testarossa was thinking. If Velgrind broke loose again, Testarossa intended to handle her herself, so I could admit that she was better suited for that role. Benimaru's flames would not work well against the incarnation of fire, and so Ai's own shadow techniques would likely be sealed off by Velgrind's spatial control. He might stop her for a few seconds at best, and escape would probably end in immolation. The thought did not thrill him. He was overjoyed by Rimuru's victory, but dissatisfied with his own lack of power. Still, Rimuru had given him an absolute order: kill the enemy and return alive. That was all Soei needed. He thought that he would finish this quickly and hurry back to Sir Rimuru's side. With his loyalty soaring higher than ever, he passed through the gate. Inside was the same circular battle arena as the others. A lone man waited in the center. Gardner, 4th ranked among the Empire's single digits, looked at Soei and said he was the opponent, then introduced himself as one of the men entrusted with protecting Emperor Ludora. He smiled as if they would not be together for very long, but hoped Soei would enjoy it. Gardner's eyes carried a cruel appetite. He was not simply measuring Soei's strength. He was already wondering how best to torment him. Soei met him in silence. Then he sighed.
So I am losing precious time in order to dispose of you.
Gardner bristled. Soei continued without interest.
My name is Soei. If you say that you surrender, I will accept it. But you will not, will you?
Gardner snapped that of course he would not. The contempt in Soei's voice had already hooked him. Before the fight even began, Gardner had stepped into Soei's trap. Gardner tried to answer with Kondo's intelligence work. He had heard of Soei, the spy who ran the monster's intelligence bureau, and he claimed Soei was not suited for direct combat. Kondo's research had not been that vague. Gardner knew Soei had real ability. He was taunting him anyway, hoping to shake his composure. Against someone like Soei, that tactic was meaningless. Soei dismissed him.
Imbecile. Enough of this nonsense. Let us get on with it.
In that brief exchange, Soei had already measured Gardner's abilities. Gardner, unaware of that, slashed at him with an azure dragon blade held in both hands. It was larger and thicker than a knife, difficult to handle but dangerous in skilled hands, and Gardner swung it in a flowing dance of sharp, powerful strikes. None of them landed. So I vanished into the shadows. Gardner's blade sliced through empty air, and the instant his balance shifted, a bullet flew from the shadow at his feet and buried itself in his chest. Gardner collapsed, coughing blood. So I emerged from the shadows holding a small Walther P99 handgun. It was one of the prototypes Rimuru had asked Kaijin to build, and so I had practiced firing it from shadow space. Now the result was obvious.
Too easy.
No matter how strong a fighter was, Soei believed a perfect ambush could finish them in one blow. The bullet carried ultra speed and insta-kill from his unique skill Shadow Striker, along with poison, paralysis, corrosion, and spiritual body destruction. It began its flight at dozens of times the speed of sound, and once it struck, even a spiritual life form could be destroyed. By every reasonable measure, Gardner should have died. Instead, a voice came from behind Soei. Gardner shouted that Soei had let his guard down, and the azure dragon blade cut through Soei's body from behind, severing his head as it emerged from his chest. The Gardner lying on the floor was still there. Another Gardner stood behind Soei, perfectly alive. Ludora's ultimate enchantment alternate had granted him parallel existence. Unlike Velgrind, Gardner did not possess vast magicules. His capacity was merely average for a saint, equivalent to an awakened demon lord but nowhere near enough to create many bodies at once. One parallel existence was his limit. Even so, that was enough to make both bodies real. His usual tactic was to let one body play the decoy while the other struck from behind. He did not like it much. Gardner preferred tormenting people while they begged for their lives, and this method ended battles too quickly. Still, his duty was to kill anyone who entered the gate, so he checked Soei's corpse. Before he could confirm it, a cold voice whispered by his ear.
I knew it.
The headless body dissolved into black mist. Gardner finally understood. He had not killed Soei's main body at all. He had killed a replication. Soei's voice echoed around him.
A simple replication is good enough to use as a decoy. It appears you are wasting a great power there.
It was a sharp criticism, and it struck exactly where Gardner was weakest. He had met Velgrind after becoming a saint and had once believed he could defeat the beautiful Marshal. Instead, one of her parallel existences crushed him while Velgrind sat elegantly on the throne, barely treating him as a diversion. Gardner had craved that skill ever since. Now he had an inferior version of it, along with the azure dragon blade she had given him. Soei had read through all of that from the beginning. Gardner screamed in fury. Doubt was poison to an ultimate class ability, and Soei had aimed at that doubt deliberately. Soei prepared to end the fight with Shadow Striker, but Gardner burned his life away and created multiple parallel existences at once. Every body was real. Killing one would not matter. Gardner meant to die, but to take Soei with him. Soei understood the danger immediately. His replications were useful, but normally only his main body could activate a unique skill. He could disguise the limitation at close range, but the delay could be fatal against a stronger opponent. This was the difference between replication and parallel existence. He had been caught at the moment when victory seemed certain. Soei apologized inwardly to Rimuru and promised he would survive, make amends, and never repeat this mistake. Then a strange voice reached him. It told him he was not forgiven. Therefore, it would grant him power as well. Soei recognized at once that this was a voice he should not question or pursue. For the leader of an intelligence department, deciding not to investigate was absurd, but Soei made that decision without hesitation. The voice accepted that. In the next instant, Soei understood the power as if he had been born with it. His replications had become separate bodies. He too had acquired parallel existence. Gardner laughed that he was going to die, but Soei would die with him. Soei cut through the laughter.
Is that the end of your will, then?
Gardner stammered that this had to be Soei's main body.
That it is. And so is this one. If you understand that, then die.
Gardner had nothing left. Soei spoke the name of his new attack.
1,000 Shadow Death.
His shadow stretched outward and became 1,000 arms, seizing Gardner from every direction. This was Eye of the Moon, one of the skills granted by the ultimate gift Tsukuyomi, Lord of Moonshade. It allowed Soei to manipulate shadows freely, investigate any part of the world touched by shadow, and move instantly wherever shadows existed. Combined with parallel existence, it let him create countless arms and attack from the darkness itself. Pinned in place, Gardner shouted that Soei should gloat while he could. He would never defeat Lady Velgrind or Sir Granite. Soei's insta-kill ended him before he could finish.
Sir Rimuru already took care of Lady Velgrind. This granite you mentioned is being attended to by Benimaru, one far stronger than I suppose, much like me. But that is no concern of yours.
Without another word, Soei melted back into shadow and let Gardner be swallowed by the darkness. Elsewhere among the 8 gates, Damrada waited alone and wondered how everything had gone so wrong. Yuki had fallen into Emperor Lidora's hands, deprived of free will like the rest of his companions. Lidora had ordered Damrada to watch over them, and Damrada was in no position to disobey. Then came a new order. Yuki would be watched by someone else, and once the handoff was complete, Damrada was to board the Emperor's flagship. That was how the great air battle began. The single digits ranked 6th or higher were allowed to know the Marshal's true identity, but they could tell no one. The secret was so vital that Damrada, whose work often took him abroad, had his memories manipulated for security. When the Marshal revealed herself as Velgrind, those memories returned. Damrada remembered the promise he had made to Lidora, and more importantly, why that promise mattered. There was no time to stew over it. Not long ago, Damrada had considered the demon lord Rimuru a surprisingly pleasant person, not someone who seemed like an overwhelming threat. Once Velgrind captured Rimuru inside an alternate dimension, he should not have been able to interfere with the plan to dominate Veldora. But Rimuru escaped. The moment he appeared, Damrada realized how naive he had been. Rimuru looked at them with cold golden eyes, and the look itself told a story. Damrada and the others were not even worth treating as current enemies. They were already dead. They could wait for later, terrorized and trapped, while Rimuru dealt with what truly mattered. Kondo stepped up, but his attack did nothing. Damrada understood Rimuru's likely objectives. First, recapture Veldora, his closest ally. Second, eliminate the invaders. People called Rimuru a pacifist, but that did not make him non-violent. When his lands were invaded, he repelled the attackers by any means he saw fit. This time, the Empire had not merely invaded, they had lured Rimuru into negotiations and set a trap. Trust was ruined. Bargaining was meaningless. If Rimuru chose to kill every Imperial soldier, the Empire had earned that judgment. Damrada wished they had made a greater effort to stop Lidora. He had overestimated the Empire's strength and assumed they could dictate victory after smashing Tempest. Replace leadership, establish a puppet state, swallow the land whole, that was how the Empire expanded. This time they had miscalculated. The battlefield was not assured. The Emperor himself was not assured. Rimuru was now both their greatest enemy and the one person who might be capable of fulfilling Damrada's promise. That was when the girl appeared before him. Ultima smiled and asked if she had kept him waiting. She was one of the 7 primal demons, a servant of Rimuru, and her strength up close was far beyond anything Damrada wanted to face. The improved precision and power of Deathstreak had already shown that Rimuru had evolved the demons. Even Guy Crimson had not empowered the primals under his control like that. Ultima laughed when Damrada realized it. Sir Rimuru had given her a bunch of power, she said, and she was feeling very good. To Ultima, it was a pleasant anecdote. To Damrada, it was a nightmare. Still, he stood firm. Damrada told her that he had not always taken the best path. Even if he chose a much harder road, all that mattered was reaching his goal in the end. Ultima saw that he still meant to fight. Damrada answered that he was one of his master's knights, and he would show his power to the fullest. Thus began the battle between Damrada, second-ranked single-digit and Lord of the Fist, and Ultima, the Pain Lord. Ultima observed him with genuine interest. Damrada's power was exceptional for a human and extraordinary even for a saint. If she had not evolved, he might have been a dangerous opponent. He reminded her of Hinata in overall level, but his training had been honed toward human opponents and single targets. That made him troublesome in a different way. Ultima disliked enemies who built their own techniques rather than simply receiving power. Hakuro was like that. He could adapt a lifetime of technique to whatever stood in front of him, and to someone born at the top of the demon race, that kind of effort felt almost alien. Demons existed on a higher plane. For Ultima, magic manipulation had always been instinct. A wish became magic. Magic became an attack. For a long time, she believed only other primals and beings like true dragons could truly threaten her. Velgrind had corrected that arrogance. Ultima, Testarossa, and Carrera had survived their battle and even defeated one of Velgrind's separate bodies. But they also learned that raw power used carelessly could lose to someone below them. Velgrind applied an ultimate skill to her magic with terrifying precision, and that lesson stayed with Ultima. The same was true of Diablo's advice. He had always told them not to rely only on the power Rimuru granted, and Ultima had once assumed he was merely being irritating. Now she understood. A granted power was not truly yours until you could shape it and apply it properly. Ultima had always possessed talent, but among the 3 Devil Lords she was probably the least polished. Testarossa was elegant and precise. Carrera was arrogant and sloppy, but capable of perfection when she cared to be. Ultima had talent and room to grow, but she had not seriously applied herself. That changed now. She wanted to prove useful to Rimuru. She wanted to reach a higher plane through more than talent. And as she watched Damrada's movements, the power she had wished for answered. Samael, Lord of Deathly Poison, gave shape to that wish. It could detect the weakness of any living thing and create the proper poison to target it. With it, Ultima felt she could not lose. But instead of relying on Samael blindly, she chose to use this battle as training. Damrada was strong, skilled, and difficult. That made him the perfect opponent. The fight soon reached its peak. Ultima had the advantage in raw offensive force, but Damrada parried her attacks away with flawless technique. Sometimes he focused his entire Saint-class fighting spirit into a direct cancellation and erased the attack head-on. His movements were efficient, never wasted, and Ultima found them fascinating. Damrada could damage Ultima only by applying the ultimate enchantment alternate to his strikes. He had trained for over 2,000 years until that borrowed power felt as natural as breathing. Combined with his technique and saint-level energy, it let him keep the fight apparently even. But the balance was an illusion. Damrada had no room to hold back. Every technique he showed was absorbed by Ultima like water sinking into dry sand. She copied, tested, learned, and grew more delighted by the moment. Ultima laughed that she was starting to understand. 6 pairs of featherless, bat-like wings bloomed from her back, shining light purple. The 12 wings moved at once, changing shape into blades, needles, and fist-like masses as they hammered toward Damrada. He parried one fish-shaped wing and was blown away by the crossed force of another. Her power was now beyond anything he could cancel cleanly, and it was increasing without an obvious upper limit. Damrada hid his urgency behind a cold retort. Her power was impressive, he said, but it meant nothing if she could not hit him. Then he allowed one of the wings to pierce his leg. It looked like a failure. It was not. Damrada was betting on a demon's arrogance. If Ultima believed she had him helpless, she might loosen her guard, and that single opening would be enough. Ultima grinned, relaxed her assault, and drove her wings into his limbs while avoiding his vitals. Damrada waited until she came close, then unleashed his strongest finisher. He called it Holy Smash Fist. All his fighting spirit as a saint, compressed by alternate into one blow, erupted toward Ultima. Even the mightiest demon could be permanently extinguished by it. Without a body, even a primal would be forced to vanish. Damrada thought he had won. Then he felt a chill. A single wing fell away, changing shape as it imitated Ultima herself. He had no time to see through it. Ultima struck back and called the move Poison Smash Fist. Her hand pierced Damrada's chest. She had copied the form of his attack as an open-hand spear strike, then layered Samael over it. Deathly poison turned her 5 fingernails dark purple, found the weakness in his defenses and broke through them. Damrada collapsed, vomiting blood. Ultima laughed that she had been right on target. Damrada tried to stand and could not. Still, he gathered his remaining strength and looked at her. He told her that was no smash fist. It was a spear hand strike, and she could not truly copy him after one look. But the power behind it had been excellent. If she wanted a name, Bloody Death Hand would be better. Damrada looked up with a satisfied, remorseful smile. He was defeated completely. Long before he could challenge Guy or fulfill Ludora's order with his own hands, Rimuru's forces had crushed him. His thoughts returned to Ludora. Long ago, Ludora had asked Damrada to listen seriously. Damrada tried to deflect him toward Velgrund, but Ludora insisted. Every reincarnation was wearing away something in him, he said. Maybe his heart, maybe his soul. Either way, if it continued long enough, he might stop being himself. Damrada did not want to hear it. If he heard it, the easy relationship between them would end. He wanted to keep serving Ludora forever as he was. Time passed, and Ludora returned to the subject. He said he was losing something important each time he was reborn, and he no longer knew what it was. Then he gave Damrada an order. If Ludora was no longer himself, Damrada was to kill him by his own hand. Damrada nearly refused. He could not say it. This was the heartfelt wish of his best friend and emperor, and he could not deny it. He promised that if the day came, he would settle Ludora's affairs. More time passed. Ludora grew tired. Michael, Lord of Justice, was becoming harder to restrain. Absolute justice, he said, was no better than evil when no justice could be accepted by everyone. Ludora asked whether Damrada remembered his promise. Damrada said he did. Then Ludora gave a second order. If Damrada failed to stop him himself, he had to find someone who could overcome Michael, Lord of Justice, and defeat Ludora in his place. It pained Ludora to ask, but while he was still himself, he needed every possible precaution. Damrada gave his word. Ludora thanked him and apologized. Michael had been entrusted to him by a friend, he said, but perhaps the power was too much. Whether he won or lost his game against Guy, the next time would be the last occasion he used it. If Michael showed signs of going out of control, Damrada must not hesitate. Stop it, and stop him as well. Ludora closed his eyes, remembering the oath he had given to Veldanava the Star King Dragon long ago. As Damrada left, Ludora murmured that if Damrada failed this promise, he would apologize in the afterlife. Damrada pretended not to hear. Back in the gate, choking on blood, Damrada tried to apologize. Ludora had given him orders and he had failed to fulfill them. There was regret, there was also relief. The command to find someone who could kill the master he loved had tortured him for too long. Ludora was every bit the brilliant hero Damrada had always believed him to be. If Ludora were gone, Damrada would have no lingering attachment to the world. The game between Ludora and Guy did not matter to Damrada. Ludora's will did. Guy Crimson was arrogant, but not a tyrant beyond reason. His rule was absolute, yet he worked within rules of his own. Ludora and Guy had different ideals, but their ideals were not impossible to reconcile. Perhaps that was why Ludora had needed Damrada to act. Guy would never move first. Damrada had searched the world and found Yuki Kagarazaka, a boy with the rare anti-skill, a power that could nullify even ultimate skills. Yuki had been Damrada's candidate against Michael. Now Yuki was dominated by Ludora and useless for that purpose. Damrada muttered aloud, asking why His Majesty had tried to rule over Yuki. Ultima heard him, but Damrada barely noticed. Ludora himself had ordered Damrada to find someone who could kill him. Why would Ludora then interfere with that effort? The answer was one Damrada did not want to admit. Ludora was already gone. The being acting in his name was Michael, Lord of Justice, the ultimate skill Veldaniva had once entrusted to him. Damrada's tears came when he finally accepted that. Ultima asked whether he was crying because he feared death. Damrada answered no, it was because of his promise. Death had him now, and he could accept that. What he could not accept was failing Ludora's last command. He had lost Yuki, but one candidate remained, Rimuru, the fearsome demon lord, Damrada's greatest enemy, and now his greatest hope. Damrada asked Ultima to kill His Majesty, to kill Ludora for him. Ultima asked why it had to be her. Damrada said it did not have to be. She could at least relay the request to the demon lord Rimuru. Ultima perked up at that. She was happy to take the job herself, since she was already planning to kill Ludora anyway. She would not work for free, but after their battle she had grown fond of Damrada in her own way. For someone with an infinite lifespan, the quality of a fight mattered more than the length of it, and their fight had been excellent. Damrada asked one more favor, protect the boy Masayuki. He was fully convinced that Masayuki mattered. Ultima agreed casually, then asked what reward he had for her. Demons did not work for free. Ultima mostly asked to tease him, but the question relieved Damrada. His heart felt lighter. He told her the reward was all of him, his soul, and every skill etched deep into his body. Ultima accepted. Damrada smiled. Then he said he was coming to His Majesty now. Those were his last words. He breathed out and died as if falling asleep. The long life of Damrada, Lord of the Fist, former Prime Minister of Nazca, and close friend of United Emperor Ludora Namul Nazca came to an end. Ultima stood alone in the alternate dimension arena. She sounded disappointed that Damrada's heart core had disappeared before she could offer it to Rimuru too. Even so, she gently wrapped Damrada's body in her 12 wings. As agreed, she took all of him into herself. That ended the battle between the two. One Lord of the Fist ended his life, and a new Demon of the Fist was born. At the end of his life, Damrada had given one of the worst demons in history one of the most dreadful powers known to mankind. Whether that would have shamed him or pleased him, no one could know now. The survivors would have to weigh the fallout.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.